Hello, everyone, and welcome to another My Music. Now, today's guest is my favorite kind of guest because they discovered the podcast through a podcast that I did previously where I had a conversation with another musician. They watched that, they know that musician, or they know of the music of that musician. They enjoyed the conversation, and they have very graciously decided to come in and now talk to me. So that's the truth. Is that not the truth?
That's exactly the truth. Yeah, I'm really happy to talk to you today because I really enjoyed that. Just like I was saying to you, really enjoyed that episode. It was so honest and vulnerable and open-hearted. I knew Charlie's music before, and I love his music. Blink of an Eye is one of my favorite songs, actually, and
Oh,
yeah, I love it. I love it. It predates his project Yamarama. But Blink of an Eye is my favorite music. Is my favorite song.
there you are. Well, we will be talking to Bill in a minute.
Mm.
First, we're going to have this wonderful video from the Analog Trash team. You can go and put a cup of tea on. You've got about 20 seconds, so hopefully the kettle's already boiled. Otherwise, you'll miss the start. But here
I've
we
got
go.
my
Keep
tea.
on, don't stop. Keep on, don't stop. Keep on, don't stop.
Today is Friday, or it is when we're recording this. It's New Music Day. It's the day that a lot of new music gets released. Is that a day you get excited about, finding lots of new music happening out there, or are you kind of um, fairly nonchalant about that, or are you quite selective in finding new music?
Yeah, I know. I mean, I have a rather. It's a day I'm excited about. You know what? Because Friday it's a Venus day, and I'm also an astrologer. It's and Venus likes music, so of course I like a Friday, and it's a perfect day to yeah to discover new stuff. I have a pretty eclectic taste in music because of my upbringing and what's it, experimental would be
Mm.
the word.
What does the gamut of your music taste look like?
Well,
Let's find out what the extremes are at either end, because that's always quite interesting.
I mean, to begin with, I grew up with trad music from northern Argentina,
Wow.
like chamamé and
Hmm.
tango, and it's music that I still enjoy today. I mean, it's probably the music which makes me cry, so it's just like sets the standard. And so yeah, my favorite band is probably not everyone's favorite band. It's Los Tucu Tucu. You can Google it. You can find them on Spotify. It's an oldie, and
An
yeah, this
oldie
is
but
what
a
I grew
goodie.
up with. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And it's really like folklore from northern Argentina. So this is what I grew up with.
Wow.
And afterwards, well, obviously, I discovered a lot of other stuff. So I like a lot of other stuff. I like deep, heavy rock. I like classical music, all sorts.
Yeah. What would we be surprised to find in your collection?
Uh, Atahualpa Yupanqui. Even my friend from Argentina, Alejandro Speranza, is a music producer in LA. And when he looked at me, like, like, oh my God, Atahualpa Yupanqui was like, oh, even he was surprised. So he said, like, oh, I think my grandmother was listening to this. That's,
Wow.
yeah.
In terms of your own music journey, where did that start? When did you actually first start making music?
I mean, I think since forever, I say that I am not a musician and I'm not even a professional singer. But since forever, music keeps crossing my path.
Right.
So I grew up with this traditional music from northern Argentina that I still love today. Then from Argentina, we moved with my parents to France, and I was enrolled in school in a special music class because the teacher thought I would could be good. But my parents decided otherwise because we had recently moved from like middle of nowhere Argentina to this very, I would say, conservative town in the west side of France, and they were trying hard for things to be as normal as possible. And well, despite all of their efforts, it didn't work. To be honest, no one in the family could really fit in. And for like many different reasons. I was um, I was dressed like a boy. I had like very extremely short hair, like a buzz cut. I spoke French with a foreign accent because it wasn't my native language. Spanish was. And so I was bullied at school. And so things really didn't work. Um, Afterwards, I think like but music keeps crossing my path. It's like whatever I do is saying hi. So when I was painting, my first exhibition was in a contemporary art competition about music. Then I went to drama school, and my first paid job in Paris was in an Italian opera. And I wasn't a singer, I
Wow.
wasn't a musician. I was playing a priestess at the Temple of Venus. So we go back to Fridays, and but I was taking everything in and like playing, having that job for a few weeks, a few months. It completely changed my life because I was taking everything in. I could remember everything. I was singing all the parts, and I met. It's a story of friendship because I met most of the people, most of the musicians that who I worked, who I made song with afterwards. Alban Sautour, um, Joël Grard, Patrick Taïeb, all these guys. I met them because of that job. So it keeps coming back. And
Yeah.
even when I completely forget about it, like this year, until a few months ago, I was there. I was completely done with music. I was like, okay, I have released this. I have never promoted it. Like it's just like, but it keeps coming back. It's just meetings, like and like it's like life is saying like, hey, there is something. So, and because of, I believe that the secret of a full life is to relate to others as if we might not be there tomorrow. And so that we should be attentive to these synchronicities and these meetings and these introductions because they might contain a seed of depth that we might often overlook. So that's it keeps coming back, and because I do dream download. Whatever I do can be painting, can be writing. I'm writing a book at the moment, or writing lyrics and writing songs. It starts with dreams because I wake up from dreams and I record everything on my notes, like in my on my phone, and then I decide the next day what to do, or like a few days, weeks later, what to do to. It's it's very Jungian. It's my red book. It's the I taught myself how to speak the metaphorical language of my subconscious this way. It's part of
Yep.
the integration. So it could be music, it could be painting, it could be like a film, like anything. But it's yeah, it's just like I
So
have
I'm
this.
I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
So if you're if you're not a musician, right,
Mm-mm.
which is fine. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a title at the end of the day. If you're not a musician,
I mean, some would
what?
disagree, but I don't consider
Well,
myself as a. Yeah.
I think there's plenty of musicians in inverted commas who would not call themselves musicians
Yeah.
necessarily. Okay, what 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 title would you give yourself then, or would you would you say
Um,
that you're a a communicator, a people facilitator, an
I would
artist. What
say,
what 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 would you call yourself?
well, I'm an astrologer, definitely, because I've been an astrologer. I started learning astrology when I was 13. So it's a language. So it's like everything in life. I see it with subtitles, it's this like planetary archetype is doing this, and like this one other one is doing that. And they're like in ourselves as internal forces and outside of ourselves. So that's definitely, yeah, like would be that, but also, yeah, a dream. I met a musician in LA, Charles Moret, that's his name, and he has released this year an album, Dream Maker. So maybe like I'm a dream downloader. That's that's what I do.
Okay, that's a great
Yeah,
title. That's a great
yeah.
title. Yeah. So you could put that on the resume, which is
Probably I should update my bio on Instagram. Dream downloader.
yeah. Well, that just opens up so many possibilities, doesn't it? I mean, actually, what in a way what you're saying is that musicians are a bit limiting, as it were, because it
I,
doesn't necessarily it doesn't necessarily well, yes and no, but it doesn't necessarily fit the criteria of where things start for you and where they're going to end, does it?
and it starts by yeah, everything starts in dreams.
Everything starts in the
That's
dreams.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
It's like the everything starts like at least in my music, it begins with the lyrics and I shape them with dreams. So every song, uh, yeah, is a dream. And sometimes the dream it can be a meditation. It can be the meditation of um,
Do you
with the
sleep
smell
well?
of a flower.
Do
Oh
you
yeah,
sleep? You sleep well,
yeah,
right? Okay.
yeah, yeah,
Because I
yeah.
mean, a lot of people that have experience of stuff in dreams don't necessarily sleep particularly well. Um, I
But
know
that's
myself. I get
yeah.
quite creative in dreams, but then I find myself wanting to wake myself up so that I can.
That's the thing. Early on, I trained myself. I mean, I had like traumatic stuff, like
Mm,
or like things like with dreams, because when I was where when I was a child, when I was young, I dreamt that my father was dying, and
wow.
uh, a few weeks later, he was diagnosed with terminal brain cancer, and he died in 4 months. So, and everyone, and it was just like the strange thing was everyone had hope. When someone is really ill like this, everyone is
Mm.
just like, oh, that's fine. I mean, he's going to fight and he's going to last like 1 year, 2 years, like 10 years. And I was just like, when does it happen? When does it end? Like, yeah, I know he's going to die. And so it's
Yeah.
just like, so I was like, does she have it? Like, she's weird with
Did you actually? I
emotions.
was going to say, did you actually feel like? I mean, that's quite prophetic. So, did you kind of feel like you may have prophetic
I
abilities, or
yeah, especially in Scotland here, everyone, like, no one is going to be surprised. Like, everyone is going to be. Um, in Argentina, people are fine with that. Like, it's still a shamanic society in some parts of Argentina, at least where I grew up. In France, ooh, no, 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 no. French people are very Descartes. They're like not comfortable about that stuff. In Scotland, poof, welcome. They're like, you just have the second sight. It's fine. It's just like,
and you're in quite a remote part of Scotland as well, are you not?
yeah, I live in the Highlands.
Yeah, which is possibly different than. I mean, just to clarify on that, that's possibly different in terms of mindset or acceptance of
Oh,
that sort of thing from maybe if you
de-
were in Edinburgh or somewhere like that, for example.
yeah, 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 definitely. It's just like it's the Gaelic culture. Like there's a lot of respect for that, and just like, yeah, the way it is, and it's fine. And so some people are this way, and
Yeah.
so yeah, so the dreams can be that, but the dream can also be something. It's just like, yeah, your subconscious like talking to you, and it's talking to me in very with like very sophisticated images sometimes. And I was like, what a shame. Like, of course I'm using this. I need to do something with this. And I probably had these songs for a while with me. And it's my collaboration with this French musician, Alban, who made it possible because he wanted to write songs and record music. He was a sound engineer, and he was mostly working with jazz musicians in France, producing, recording, mixing, all that stuff. And but he didn't know where to start. He's like, yeah, I would like to do something else, and I was like, I'm the most optimistic person in the world, and I've got tons of ideas. So just like, let's do this, and that's how it began.
Let's cover that for a minute, because I'm always interested in that aspect of creativity. I'm I'm amazed because I'm a, I feel I'm an incredibly creative person myself. I wake up every morning and I have stuff coming out, which has to go somewhere. Um, do you do you look around the world and see like people that are incredibly talented at what they do in terms
Mhm.
of skill or output or whatever, but there's so many people that say, "Oh, I don't have any ideas there, or I'm not sure what to create and whatever." And do you look at that and go, "Wow, what what's wrong with me?" Because like I just feel like all of this stuff all of the time, and I just don't understand why other people can't access that.
That's why, I think probably the best way to make music and to make the best music is in a band, because like
Mm,
you need people, like you need a vision, or like some people having the vision and some other people like, oh yeah, knowing how to do things, like, okay, here's the destination, and find me the boat, like find me the thing, and find me it's really it's like a recipe.
no, absolutely. I'm just going to change camera a second because that one's just decided to pop. No idea why. So just give me a second.
It's okay.
Must be getting warm. Do beauty of having more equipment.
Yay.
Yay! And it's good. Well, it's good to change it up every now and again. Let's move it to there. That's it. And then we can come this way. That's better. Thank you. Yeah.
So I don't think I have a problem. Yeah, my friend in LA, he would say, he just said this summer, we had this conversation, and I was telling him, like, I'm not a musician. I'm not like this. He said, yeah, true. You are a music producer. And I was like, no. And I said, believe me, that's what you are. That's what you did without knowing it. Like you've been producing something. Like, oh yeah, let's put this, and or you play this way and do it this way. And like without really having the technical skills or language, I wouldn't never be able to do it myself. But yeah.
Yeah, we see. I always enjoy that.
Mm.
You know, do you get quite a buzz from actually knowing that you're working with someone that can, if you like, interpret what you want and make that happen? And it's almost like, well, I don't. There's a lovely trust in that, isn't there? Because
Yes.
you don't have to worry. You just know that you can open the book, if you like, of yourself, and they can take that and turn it into something that you don't have to fight against.
Yeah, and honestly, the At first, I had no idea what I was doing. Honestly, I wrote all this and like recorded it, and I was just like, I really don't know what I'm doing. And to be fair, the drummer, for example, he didn't know what we were doing either, and it was just like there was this song that he really disliked, Gardenia, and I love this song, and I had so much fun singing that song. And he was like, I don't understand it. I don't know. And he was like so grumpy. And at the very end of the recording process, we were listening to everything in the studio, and he was like, "Oh, I get it now," and I quite like it. But I was not imagining because like you don't have a really powerful voice, so I was not. That's not the thing like I had in my mind, but it actually works. And he said like it's maybe the power of the witch, and this is how I got my name, like my band name.
Do you believe in witches? Are you do you what is a witch to you?
What is a witch to me? I think someone said one day it's an old man in the Irish countryside saying, "Oh yeah, I don't believe in fairies and goblins and witches and all that, but they're there." So,
But they're there.
so yes. So uh, it's just like on my on the side. I have a very personal relationship to this because on my father's side, I think it's the astrology side. I have a half sister who's also an astrologer. Our family name, my father's family name, Dizier, it comes from the name of a saint, Desiderius. In Latin, it means longing or desire. And the Latin root of that name is Sideris, which means constellation. So from the place I was born next to one of the biggest meteorite fields in the world. Campo del Cielo means sky field. So to the name of my father, I think I was kind of meant to look at the stars. So this is one part, and the other part is my grandmother on my mother's side. She was a medium, so she could see like the other world, spirits, and she was absolutely terrifying. Apparently, I've never met her. So it's part of this ancestral inheritance of mine. It's there. So yeah, I guess I'm a witch, like a modern witch.
Do you feel though? I mean, and actually, it's quite interesting because there's quite a lot of younger modern musicians who are sort of adopting uh, the title
Paganism and
of witch, and yeah, it's quite interesting. Maisie Peters, Natasha Khan, Bat for Lashes. They're all talking
it's also
about
feminist.
mm,
It's
exactly
feminist,
like
yeah.
a feminine energy, etc.
Mm.
Which I totally get. But do you think that um, society that too many people in society still see like things in very kind of black and white when it comes to kind of spiritual energy, etc.
Oh,
It's sort of like
definitely.
thinking about like we've just had Halloween and thinking about growing up.
Mm.
It was all about sort of like there's God and good, and then there's the devil and evil, and this sits on
Mhm.
that side and that sits on that side. Um, and you wonder how many of them have actually ever watched Star Wars. Um, and I say that because the amount of modern culture films that we've had that have actually Harry Potter, Star Wars, whatever, have dealt with somewhat the 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 sort of balance, and that actually it's not clear cut. It's not like there's that and then there's that, but actually there's there's sort of good and bad within everybody, and there's kind of a there's a balance and leveling going on, really, a push and pull.
But that's
But
the
yeah,
thing you're
we
saying. It's society. It's about society.
mm,
And I do feel not everyone has to agree, like it's only like what I believe, but I feel that us human beings, um, we cannot bear too much truth.
Right.
And as a consequence, the mental system is located in some sort of safety zone.
Mm.
And so if you want to know the truth, well, you have a problem. Because since you want to know the truth, you are dissociated from society because society does not live in the truth. They live in a some sort of dark security system. So the astrologer or the witch or the mystic, let's say like the mystic, the shaman, is like a crazy person in society. No one understands them really deep down because in reality, since society is crazy, that's my personal opinion, it has to classify some people who are seriously sane as crazy. And you will notice that it's actually the only thing that science and religion both agree on, ditching astrology, for example. That's the, but it is the society that is crazy. And it displaces the madness to those who try to see reality, who try to see beyond our material perception of the world. So, if you look deeply into reality, well, you are very marginal in society. Because society does not want, it cannot bear too much truth.
It's interesting, isn't it? And yet we are, you know, and yet the same society gets scared about, or the same society sort of worries about things like AI, which is very
Yes.
uh, binary. You know, it's very it's basically based on logic, which comes from, you know, yes or no, basically,
It's the
or
fear of what we don't know, the fear of the unknown.
and yet. But what I'm saying is, but yet, if you look at AI, we should know it because it's working on that same sort of like there or there logic,
Mhm.
right? Where
Yeah.
where AI, I guess what we're worried about is that AI will hit the grey area in the middle, which is the bit where we're not we don't understand as a lot of or a lot of culture doesn't
Mhm.
understand, right? But I can't personally can't see that it will, because I think however much it tries to understand that, it's going to always be built on logic, and therefore we can always take our minds and souls to a different place that logic doesn't understand. That's what makes us human. Do you just think that, you know, more of us just need to open up to what we can't understand?
Oh, definitely. And that's what I mean by um, um, like focusing, like being a truth seeker and like looking beyond and without being afraid. So um, most people in society, that's like where most a lot of fear comes from. Like they need to cheat themselves to keep on living. And
Is that one of the reasons? Is that one of the reasons why, um, despite not being a musician and being the
mm,
dream downloader, etc., quite often your path comes back to crossing with music, because music has that kind of special power of being able to help us understand something which we
well,
don't understand, or it opens up an element of us which we don't understand, I think.
oh, definitely. And I believe I have realized, it took me years, but now I have realized that music or astrology, they're not different. They are the languages, some of the languages that humans have negotiated with what I like to call the world soul. It's this life force. that the physical universe has generated. So we all work with time and harmony. That's music, and that's also astrology. That's all we have. And both are also, or can be, reading a communication, literally, because we talk about astrology consultations being readings. And it's not entirely a metaphor because we are reading something like musicians read music. And um, it shows also both, they show patterns. So the astrology will show patterns in your life, and like you have patterns in music as well that you can play with, that you can work with. And when I look at a nativity, a natal chart, someone's chart, if I look at your chart, I'm going to tell you, well, your natal chart doesn't make you do things. It is you. It is your music. You are a song. And it's a bit cliche, but that's what it is. And you can see yourself in the heavens if you can read the language. And it's the same for music. It's a language. It's communicating with the innermost depth of yourself by reading measurements of light or by reading measurements of sound. I find this incredibly beautiful.
Oh, that's what a fantastic image you've given of something quite sonic.
And
That's
for me today, it's a bit the same. So it's just like
yeah,
particle, wave, even all the discussions that we astrologers can have, like in like big meetings or conventions, or like about fate and free will and quantum physics, and like I find like what a time to be alive when you can understand all these things and you can make the connections about like, yeah, I'm looking at the planets, and the planets are particles in astrology. When I'm casting your chart, I'm looking at the sun, it's a particle, but the particle can also be a wave. Like when you focus on a photon, for example, like you're going to see only the particle, but like if you stop like paying attention, it's a wave, like it's a flow. And it's the same for fate and free will, and I could talk about this for hours. So it can be boring. Stop me.
no,
Like,
definitely not, definitely not. Now, just before we finish today, I quite often it happens when I'm doing these podcasts, but quite often a song comes to me or a piece of music comes to me, which I want to share with my guests just in case they've never heard it before, that I think might be useful to them or quite relevant with them. And the piece I'm going to share with you today is a song by Marillion, which is a song called Sounds That Can't Be Made,
mm,
which I think is a go and listen to it afterwards if you haven't already. But I think that says a lot about that, because I believe as humans we do make these sounds between us. We have these connections between us. We even write songs between us, if you like, that can't actually be made. You can't actually play them on an instrument. You can't physically make that sound, but yet we hear those sounds.
yeah, there.
They're definitely there. And I think to some extent what dream downloaders like yourself do is they channel these experiences of thought and existence and whatever into something physical, but it already exists there.
Yeah, and it's also a way to understand that um, time is not a line. It's what we perceive, what I perceive in my dreams to be super long happens in a flash in reality. And early on, it made me realize like this like strange thing with time and space is that a second is not a second. Some seconds do last a day, and some days last a second.
Yeah.
So that's the and yeah,
Well, listen, I hope, having had this conversation today, that that people listening to this will feel that they now want to approach you to understand a bit more, and whichever way that they come to your dreams, whether it's through art or music or just by talking to you,
yeah.
um, or astrology, then I hope they enjoy the experience of your personality and your uh, you as a person. So I thank you so much for joining me today and having this conversation.
Thank you for having me. I think this was a seed, you know, and like I was telling you before, you create reality by this dialogue. This is why you ask questions. So I
Eh,
wasn't sure what this would be about when you messaged me first, but the last thing I wanted to do is to stop your questioning. So here I am,
Thank you so
and I
much.
really
I,
enjoyed it.
I believe in the power of dialogue. I believe in starting
Mm.
conversations, and I believe that we seek truth through conversations. I don't think we ever find the truth. I think what we do is we get closer to the truth by understanding other people's views and understanding other people's uh, perceptions of what is right and what is wrong, and everything in between. But it's when we stop talking, that's when we're in trouble. That's what I believe. There we go.
Oh,
So
definitely.
if you've enjoyed today's conversation, then please do uh, get in touch. Let us know whether you've enjoyed this conversation. Do share it with your friends and family, folks. I'll be back soon with more my music. If you haven't enjoyed today's conversation, you know what to do to get your time back. Sorry about that, but that's just the way it goes. We will be back soon. Thank you so much to my guest today, Bilal, and to
Bye.
everyone out there that's been listening. Thank you to you as well. Till next time.